Hello there. Welcome to Just the Discs. We talk about Blu-rays here. And today I have a stack of discs to discuss and make you aware of. And I'm going to start with relatively newcomer but certainly strong shower label, Radiance Films, out of the UK, run by Fran Simeone. And I've already talked about some of their discs, but I was thoroughly impressed with Big Time Gambling Boss, and I even talked about that on an episode of Pure Cinema, our video store sampler, volume 2, I think. And I'll touch on that in a second, but let's talk about this first movie. This is The Sunday Woman. And it is a film from 1975, and it's a French film. It is the story of an odious architect that is beaten to death and a high society wife, played by the lovely Jacqueline Bisset, and her gay friend, played by Jean-Louis Trintignant from The Conformist, are the key suspects, with a discarded letter implicating them in the murder. Commissioner Santa Maria is played by Marcello Mastroianni, so you got a really great cast here, obviously. And he's assigned to the case and tries to uncover the murder suspect in this sort of upper-class tale. With its, sort of an Agatha Christie style murder mystery narrative. It's also a sharp critique of Turin's upper crust, and the screenplay by celebrated duo Aj and Scarpelli, famed for their masterpieces in the Commedia all'Italiana boom, including Big Deal on the Madonna Street and The Organizer, is a whip-smart adaptation of the best-selling novels by Carlo Frutero and Franco Lucentini, with the lead character of Santa Maria inspired by the real-life head of the Flying Squad. The much-heralded director Luigi Comencini often worked in a combination of comedy, drama, and finding humor in tragedy. It is the only waiting to be discovered as a master of post-war Italian cinema, the director, that is. So, I do love that Radiance does this insert. It really makes their disc stand out. And the insert is nice because it actually has the little summary on the front, and then it has sort of a short version of the features on the front, and limited to 2,000 copies. This is an A and B region disc. But I mean, you can take this off if you want. You can pull it out. But I just think it's a neat addition that really makes these stand out. This has a score by Ennio Morricone. Very exciting. And let's see here. It's a 2K restoration of the film from the original negative, presented in 1:3:3:1 and an alternate 1:5:1 widescreen. Original uncompressed mono PCM audio. Newly filmed interview with academic and Italian cinema expert Richard Dyer, who looks at The Sunday Woman. 18 minutes. An archival interview with cinematographer Luciano Tovoli, who discusses his work on the film. This is from 2008. Another 22 minutes in that interview. Newly filmed interview with academic and screenwriter Giacomo Scarpelli, who discusses the life and work of his father, Furio Scarpelli, and his writing partner, Agenori Incroci. 36-minute interview, that's brand new. Archival interview, French TV interview with Jean-Louis Trintignant, in which the actor discusses The Sunday Woman. That's from 1976. It's about 4 minutes. And we have a reversible sleeve and a limited edition 24-page booklet featuring new writing on the film by Maria Angela Sansoni, and a reprint of an archival piece on the film. So you got your booklet, Jacqueline Bisset on the cover, and we have a reversible artwork. So that is a Sunday Woman. Very curious about this one. And next up, also very curious about Yakuza Graveyard. Now this one, like I mentioned, I was a big-time fan of Big Time Gambling Boss, which is another Japanese Yakuza film. This one is from 1976. And apparently, according to the site, when he falls for the beautiful wife of the jailed boss of the Nishida gang, things start to spiral out of control for Detective Kuroya. Tetsuya Wadahari, Graveyard of Honor. In a world where the line between police and organized crime is vague, he finds himself on the wrong side of a Yakuza war when his superiors favor Nishida's rivals, the Yamashiro gang. Co-starring the iconic Meiko Kaiji, Lady Snowblood, and featuring Nagisa Oshima as chief of police, Yakuza Graveyard sees director Kinji Fukasaku battles without honor and humanity at the peak of his powers. So Kinji Fukasaku has definitely gotten some Blu-ray love in the past several years, and so it's very exciting that he continues to get that love because he's obviously a really great director. But like I said, because Radiance put out Big Time Gambling Boss, which was a Yakuza film I was unfamiliar with and enjoyed, I am very curious about this one. This one is, I want to say, almost 10 years post, not quite, because I want to say Big Time Gambling Boss was like 68. So I'm assuming this will be a bit more graphic in its violence. It doesn't mention a news scan, so high definition digital transfer, original uncompressed mono PCM audio, appreciation by filmmaker Kazuya Shirishi. That's a 15-minute piece. The Rage and the Passion, a visual essay by critic Tom Mess on Meiko Kaiji and Kinji Fukasaku's collaborations. It's a 12-minute visual essay. There's an Easter egg, new and improved subtitles. We have a limited edition 32-page booklet. And these are nice, really nice matte finished booklets. Reversible artwork. Sorry, the booklet featuring new writing on the film by Mika Ko and representations of Koreans in the Yakuza film, a newly translated reprints of contemporary reviews and writing by screenwriter Kazuo Kashihara. And this is a region A and B disc, and it is limited to 3,000 copies. I think as is actually okay. So Yakuza Graveyard is 3,000. Sunday Woman is 2,000. Both limited editions, right? Just something to keep in mind. And then they have a lot more cool stuff coming, by the way. Radiance has a version of Thieves Like Us, the Altman film. Actually, two Altmans. They have Thieves Like Us and O.C. and Stiggs. And I never thought I would be excited about O.C. and Stiggs. And that is not a straight shot at the film. I actually don't dislike the movie. The characters are tricky. It's these two young guys sort of going against this rich family and just really giving them a hard time. I'm curious to rewatch it. It's a Blu-ray debut, and Thieves Like Us has gotten a Blu-ray, but it's out of print from Kino, so this is exciting. I've pre-ordered those, and they also have coming a really fantastic looking edition of Messiah of Evil. Just a great special collector's edition set that looks to be their, flagship horror release that's really going to get, I think, a lot of people on board with the label, if they were tentative about some of these off the beaten path films. And Radiance has done a really nice job with that, just getting those films out there and picking some interesting stuff. So anyway, more good stuff coming from them, but we have the Sunday Woman and Yakuza Graveyard are the new ones I've gotten from Radiance. I got a couple 4Ks here. This is the new Rebel Without a Cause 4K from Warner Brothers, and this is it a Warner Color film? I don't want to misspeak if it's Technicolor or Warner Color. I think it's Warner Color. But regardless, it's freaking beautiful. This is really, really good looking 4K transfer. It's a beautiful color film directed by Nicholas Ray, starring, of course, James Dean. And it's just beautiful. Natalie Wood, of course, also. Sal Mineo, Jim Backus. Story of a young guy who shows up at a new school and runs afoul of some locals and finds some friends and sort of has something of a small family form between he and Natalie Wood and Sal Mineo. But it's just got that great opening sequence. The big red titles come up and we see a drunken James Dean's character is on the sidewalk playing with a toy monkey, and it's beautiful. It's just like a really great looking movie, especially when you get into like his red jacket and a lot of the stuff that you see moving forward through the film. But a movie I've always loved to look at, even ever since I saw the first widescreen VHS of it. Even then I was like, wow, this looks fantastic. And now we've just taken it to pretty much the highest level. And I was very, very happy with this scan. It features a commentary by Douglas Rathjub, and author of The Making of Rebel Without a Cause. And the Blu-ray includes documentaries, Rebel Without a Cause, Defiant Innocence, and James Dean Remembered, Dennis Hopper, Memories from the Warner Lot, and additional scenes without sound. So this is a 4K that also includes a Blu-ray as well. And it doesn't say anything specific about the scan, but it sure looks good to me, I'll tell you. Okay. Next up, we have another 4K. This is from Scream Factory. This is James Wan's Dead Silence, collaboration between he and Lee Whannell, great screenwriter who he first collaborated with, I think, maybe collaborated with him before this actually, but Saw was the big breakout for both of them. And this is, another one of those movies that James Wan is doing that feels like one for him, that kind of a very specific puppet horror movie about a cursed doll, and definitely has like a very memorable opening, with Ryan Quanten and his wife receiving this doll in the mail or just dropped off at their door. It's a figure. It's a ventriloquist dummy. And then come to find out that it's tied to this legend of this woman who used to have her own creepy theater that's really interesting because it's on the middle of this moated island. It's better than I remembered. Like my wife and I saw it in the theater. We're big James Wan fans, and ever since Mary Shaw was hunted down and killed, the small town of Ravens Fair has been haunted by horrific deaths. When a local's wife is brutally murdered, he returns home to unravel the terrifying legend of Mary Shaw and the reason why, when you see her, you should never ever scream. And there's some great stylistic moments in this when the doll is doing its evil business. Suddenly the sound will drop out completely, and the person that's witnessing the whatever's happening will suddenly not be able to hear anything, and there's an immediate response. And so once we see that established, every time it happens, you're like, oh no, here comes some bad news. Donnie Wahlberg, I think, plays a cop in this, and he's pretty good. as this cop who just, of course, doesn't believe any of this, nonsense to him about a curse and a ventriloquist doll. He just sees a guy who looks like he murdered his wife. So that's fascinating stuff. But yeah, really great music by Charlie Clouser. One of my favorite scores of his. Just a creepy, unsettling, but very melodic score. Big fan. So this is a new 4K master, and it looks great. To me anyway. This is the theatrical cut on the 4K, okay? But on disc 2 you have the theatrical and unrated, and it doesn't mention if the unrated is a new scan, so I'm not sure about that. New interview with Lee Winnell, alternate opening and ending, deleted scenes, making of, Mary Shaw's secrets, evolution of visual effects, etc. So very nice addition of a movie I think has become a little bit underrated since it came out in, 2007. Dead Silence. Nice looking 4K from Scream. Speaking of Scream Factory, we have a website exclusive from them here. Another movie that had gotten a Blu-ray but has gone out of print, and that is Sorority House Massacre. And this is from 1986. I'm a big fan of this one. It's ostensibly a Halloween knockoff, kind of a Halloween in college with a sorority setting. Not quite so direct, but that's kind of basically what it is. And I'm shocked that Scream didn't put this out as a non-website exclusive, because now I believe it's sold out. So sorry to wave this one around when you can't. I don't think you can get it anymore from their site. And like I said, I just would have thought they might have potentially guessed they could sell more than 1,500. But I get that there are certain movies where you just can't take that chance. So anyway, this is nice because it is a new 2K scan of the original camera negative and has some new extras. A new Nightmare on Sorority Row, Remembering Sorority House Massacre interview with actor Angela O'Neill. New Slash Course in Terror Inside Sorority House Massacre interview with author, film historian Amanda Reyes, one of my favorite people to do special features. Extended UK VHS cut with additional footage. Sorority Pledge interview with executive producer Roger Corman. Sorority Sister interview with actor Nicole Rio. Sorority Brother interview with actor Vinny Balancio. And I think those last 3 interviews might have been on the Code Red Blu-ray, which is the one that went out of print. But now they're both out of print. I mean, they're both not easily gettable, so it's still going to be expensive. But a good reason to keep an eye on the Scream Factory social media, because that's the way I typically find out about these website exclusives, and I try to jump on them as quickly as I can. Now, I will say, if I have any complaints, I will say these are a little bit expensive, for what they are. I get that they're limited runs. I've talked about this before. I don't mean to be a broken record, but a little pricey. And they also charge you for shipping unless you go over like $50. So I usually have to get 2 of them, which I'll talk about in a second. And then they charge you for insurance, which is a little bit, anyway. But yeah, just got to keep an eye on these and have a little extra money ready so that you don't miss out on something as cool as Sorority House Massacre. The other one I picked up is actually a triple. This triple feature includes TNT Jackson from 1975, The Final Come Down from 1972, and Savage from 1973. I really know TNT Jackson the best. The Final Come Down, I know Tarantino is a fan of that one. So TNT Jackson, martial arts experts, Diana TNT Jackson, Jeannie Bell, is pure dynamite when she takes to the streets of Hong Kong in search of her missing brother and runs afoul of the city's most villainous drug pushers. The Final Come Down, 72, Johnny Johnson, Billy D. Williams is a young man with a promising future, but push him too far and you've got a revolution on your hands. And Savage, James Englehart stars as a criminal on the run who finds even more trouble when he is caught between 2 warring factions in a tropical nation's bloody conflict. Only feature we have here is radio spots for all 3 films, and a couple of them have trailers as well. But nonetheless, not on Blu-ray before, and so I wanted to check this out. I needed something else for my cart, so I grabbed this triple feature. Let's see. Next up, we have Joe Sarno double bill. Now, one of these came out from another label I'm not going to talk about, but I saw this double bill, and these have been really nice. Now, these are Film Movement classics in collaboration with Something Weird, I think, and they're really well done. Moonlighting Wives is the one that I know, and it's really interesting. Dripping with Color, Moonlighting Wives, 1966, introduced Joe Sarno's psychosexual erotic dramas to popular audiences when it screened in mainstream theaters and drive-in cinemas. For his next productions, Joe returned to his trademark economical black and white dramas, including The Naked Fog, presented here for the first time to home media. I thought Moonlighting Wives hadn't really gotten much of a home media release either. I've only seen it on bootlegs, maybe there's a DVD. Anyway, Moonlighting Wives, unhappy housewife Joan turns her stenography service into a thriving prostitution ring. When Joan gives well-connected golf pro Al a piece of the action, blackmail follows, and soon the cops are on to their illicit enterprise. Vibrant compositions drive an increasingly dire narrative in a film Mondo Digital called A Perfect Example of Sarno's Psychological Approach to Erotica. And then, tired of her jet-setting lifestyle, Marge creates a new identity as an Upper East Coast suburbia. Struggling with writer's block, she finds inspiration in her town brothel, a hotbed of infidelity and blackmail. This classic Sarno story of an empowered woman navigating the swinging 60s as elevated by the elegant black and white shots of the Spartan Long Island coastline. Newly restored from the original film elements, the definitive HD double feature Moonlighting Wives and Naked Fog includes an interview with director Joe Sarno and never-before-released interview with cinematographer Jerry Kolodjeratos. So that's really cool. Nice interview. But yeah, Moonlighting Wives is just like, it's like a Sam Fuller movie. It's like, the dialogue is great. Sam Fuller or Russ Meyer. I mean, it's a little lower key than those. Like, those can be pretty heightened, but it's pretty fun and gets kind of crazy and dark. And so yeah, that was the big one I picked this one up for. It was a little expensive, this double bill, but I've gotten other Sarno double bills. There's another one I'm blanking on right now, but from the Film Movement Classics line, and they've been really nice releases. So just continuing my Joe Sarno collection. Then we have The Hunted. Now, this is a sort of a newer discovery for me. I know a lot of people have seen this. It came out in 2003. It's directed by William Friedkin, and it's pretty great, I gotta say. It's Tommy Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro. Lee Jones is a guy who trains killer soldiers, and basically Benicio is a killer soldier who is having some kind of a mental break, and he starts killing people in the wilderness in the Pacific Northwest. What's neat about it is both Tommy Lee and Benicio are great, and the movie becomes basically two sets of extended chase scenes. And it's, there's some talking to it and some setup, but once it gets rolling, it really dives into the chase stuff really well. And so there's foot chase becomes car chase becomes foot chase. It's just really got some great action to it, and it's got sort of a First Blood, vibe a little bit. There's a little more going on than that, but I really dug it. And this has a commentary from Friedkin that I'm curious to check out, as well as 4 documentaries on the making of the film and deleted scenes. I had this film digitally, but I was like, you know what, I should pick this up because I was really impressed with it. But yeah, well worth your time if you haven't seen The Hunted. If it somehow passed you by, definitely worth a look. And the last thing I'll talk about, and this is something I'm going to try and do on a regular basis, is bring in stuff that I'm watching that I haven't talked about on the channel before. In this case, it is a Eclipse series set of the documentaries of Louis Malle. And of course, these come in these slimmer cases, and it usually just has this cardboard slip case that all of them slide into. I was turned on to one of these by my friend Bill Ackerman. He does the great Supporting Characters podcast and is doing some work on the Directors Club podcast. Keep an eye out for his Godard series coming soon. But so this is a bunch of these documentaries that Louis Malle did. Louis Malle, a French filmmaker known for his narrative work. I'm sure you've seen My Dinner with Andre and some of the other stuff he's done. But these documentaries are fascinating because they're done throughout the, let's see here, 62, 73, 74, 69, 69, 85, 86. So throughout his career, he's doing these. But the one that I watched was God's Country. I also watched In the Pursuit of Happiness. God's Country, though, that's the real winner. Starts in 1979. It's Malle and his crew stop into this town, Glencoe, Minnesota, in 1979. It's a farming community, rural sort of town. And he just starts talking to this old lady with her garden, and that sort of becomes the impetus for the actual movie, really, because they see this woman and they stop off in this town, and then they're having a, some kind of almost like Oktoberfest kind of thing, and then they just sort of get into it and they start talking to the locals, observing local traditions like mowing, and then they start talking to specific people, like one young farmer, a woman that's like a social service worker, and a few others, and this sort of the town lawyer. And so he goes through, and it's a really interesting portrait. And then the last 17 minutes of the movie, he returns in 1986 to the same town, and we see some of the same people again. There's one guy that inseminates cows for a living. Very fascinating dude. And we see them where they're at now. But we also see that the farming communities have come under, very hard times because of Reagan's policies and things. And anyway, just a really great documentary. So I checked out Pursuit of Happiness, which is sort of all about a bunch of immigrant folks finding their way in the United States. And now I'm just curious to check out the rest of these. I think most of them, if not all of them, are available on the Criterion channel if you want to watch them there. But, it's always nice to have the hard copies. And I bought this as part of a lot of Eclipse sets years ago and just now started digging into them. So I just want to bring that up as another thing. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.